The year was 2150 and Earth was dying. Oceans had shrunk into poisoned basins. Forests stood as blackened skeletons, and the skies glowed with a sickly red haze. Humanity's wars, greed, and endless hunger for power had already pushed the planet to its knees. Then the aliens arrived and finished the job. In the ruins beneath Denver, Colorado, a secret facility housed humanity's final gamble, the Time Gate, a shimmering ring of energy, unstable yet powerful enough to bend the laws of physics. Dr. Ethan Carter, once a quiet man of science, now carried the weight of his species on his shoulders. He stood before the glowing vortex, jaw tight. If this doesn't work, then humanity's story ends tonight. Beside him, Sarah Mitchell, a former military strategist hardened by years of fighting, crossed her arms. Or maybe we jump into the future and find nothing left to say. Her voice carried the edge of someone who had already buried too many friends. Before Ethan could respond, the ground shook violently. Sirens blared, red lights flickering across the chamber. Above them, muffled detonations rolled like thunder. The alien war machines had found the bunker. It had been 15 years since the invasion began. The first ships had appeared over Washington, Los Angeles, and New York. Humanity threw everything at them. Fleets of jets, missiles, even nuclear warheads. Nothing worked. Their shields bent, human weapons like twigs. Their plasma cannons split skyscrapers in seconds. Yeah, the time. Governments collapsed. Survivors and fled. Fragments of humanity remained hiding in caves and ruins, fighting with desperation. Gates Stable shouted, Dr. Marcus Reynolds, Ethan's oldest friend, as he adjusted the console. His voice wavered, but his hands stayed steady. We're ready. The portal flared brighter, filling the chamber with pale light. Suddenly, the far wall exploded inward. Fire and smoke flooded the corridor as alien soldiers stormed through, towering figures of black armor, eyes burning with cold fire. Their guttural roars echoed like thunder. Sarah drew her weapon and fired bullets, sparking uselessly against their shields. Go, she shouted. Get through the gate. Ethan grabbed her wrist. We go together. Marcus sprinted forward, vanishing into the vortex. Plasma fire rained down, tearing apart consoles and soldiers alike. The compound was collapsing. Ethan pulled Sarah toward the light, heat scorching their backs. For a brief instant, he glanced behind and saw the laboratory. 20 years of work consumed by fire. He saw soldiers fall, humanity's last defense turning to ash. And in that chaos, one alien's gaze caught his. Not rage, but something strangely human. Recognition almost. Then the moment was gone. Ethan and Sarah leapt into the gate, swallowed by its blinding glow, and Earth behind them fell silent. The sensation of falling ended as suddenly as it began. Ethan Carter collapsed onto cold stone, lungs burning, ears ringing. For a moment, he thought he was dead, but when he opened his eyes, the glow of the time gate was gone, replaced by the pale shimmer of moonlight filtering through the ruins of a city. Sarah Mitchell groaned beside him, clutching her side. Well, she said between breaths, we're not vaporized. That's something. Ethan pushed himself up, scanning their surroundings. The skyline stretched upward like the skeleton of a once great metropolis. Crumbling towers leaned precariously, their glass long shattered, their steel ribs exposed to the elements. Vines crept over concrete, but the air felt wrong, thin, metallic, heavy with silence. This isn't Denver, Ethan murmured. Not anymore. Marcus Reynolds stumbled out of the shadows, coughing. Two other scientists followed, dazed but alive. Readings confirm it, Marcus said, raising his wrist console. We've jumped forward. The gate worked. Sarah stood, brushing dust from her jacket. Then tell me where we are, Marcus. What year? He frowned at the screen. The gate brought us to 2300, 150 years ahead. Silence fell. The number hung in the air like a death sentence. Ethan's gaze swept the ruins. If this is the future, then humanity's gone. Before Sarah could answer, a sound cut through the night, a low hum growing louder. The group froze. From above, lights descended, sharp beams slicing across the ruins. A black craft overhead, its hull smooth. Alien. The hum grew into a roar. Hide, Sarah hissed. They dove into the shadows of a collapsed building. The ship hovered, scanning the streets with cones of white light. Then, with a shriek of metal, figures emerged. Tall, armored aliens, their limbs sharp like blades, their glowing eyes sweeping the darkness. They moved with precision, dragging something behind them. Ethan's heart clenched. It wasn't supplies or weapons, it was people, humans, shackled, and thin eyes vacant with fear. Their captors barked guttural orders as they pushed the prisoners toward the ship. Sarah's jaw tightened. They're not just ruling the future, they're farming it. One of the prisoners stumbled and fell. An alien raised its weapon, a lance glowing with searing plasma. Before it could strike, another figure stepped forward from the shadows, taller than the others, its armor marked with strange patterns, its eyes burning softer, almost uncertain. The alien caught the attacker's wrist and hissed something sharp in its language. The two clashed briefly, but the tall one held its ground. The prisoner was dragged up, spared from execution. Ethan's pulse raced. Did you see that? One of them. It stopped the killing. Sarah's eyes narrowed. Why? Why would one of them go against its own kind? The prisoners were herded aboard the ship, and the craft lifted silently into the night. Only then did the group emerge from hiding. Breaths shallow, nerves frayed. Marcus shook his head. It's over. Humanity's nothing but livestock. Ethan didn't answer. answer. His mind kept returning to that one alien, the hesitation in its movements, the defiance in its stance. Hours later, under the ruined shell of what had once been a courthouse, the survivors gathered to plan. "We came here to learn what destroyed us," Ethan said. "Now we know. The invasion didn't just conquer Earth, it erased us. If there's even a chance to undo this, we need to find that alien, the one who hesitated." Sarah folded her arms. "You want to track down an alien? One soldier in an army that butchered billions. That's suicide." Ethan met her glare. "Or it's the only lead we've got. If one of them can defy their kind, maybe we have an ally. Maybe that's how we change this," rubbing his temples. "Even if you're right, how do we survive long enough to reach it? The city is crawling with patrols. One wrong step and we're dust." Silence hung in the ruined hall. The future stretched around them, bleak and merciless. But in that silence, Ethan felt something he hadn't known in years, a spark. The memory of the alien's burning eyes lingered like a question. Hope, fragile and foolish, but hope nonetheless. Ethan stood, squaring his shoulders. "We came here looking for answers. I think we just found one. Tomorrow, we start searching." Sarah exhaled slowly, then holstered her weapon. "You're insane, Carter. But fine. If we're going down, we might as well go down swinging." The group settled into uneasy sleep beneath the ruins, the night alive with distant hums of alien craft above them. The stars shimmered, cold and indifferent, and somewhere in the city, the alien who had spared a human life walked alone, a secret that might change the fate of both species. Dawn crept over the ruined city. Ethan, Carter woke to the rumble of alien patrols. Sarah, Mitchell was already awake, pistol resting across her knees. "You actually think we can find that alien?" she said flatly. Ethan nodded. It hesitated. "That means something. Humanity has nothing left if we ignore it." Sarah exhaled, but didn't argue further. By midday, the group crept through ruins. Twice they hid from alien craft sweeping overhead. Each time Ethan's resolve hardened. That night they saw him again. The tall alien with patterned armor emerged from the shadows, moving differently from the others. "That's him," Sarah whispered. Ethan stepped forward before anyone could stop him. The alien turned, weapon raised, but didn't fire. "You spared a human yesterday," Ethan said. "Why?" The alien's voice rasped through Ethan's translator. "Because not all deserve death." "My name is Zaron," Sarah muttered. "It talks." Zaron lowered his weapon. "Your species cannot win this war. But there is one way. Change the beginning. When my people first entered your skies, that moment sealed your fate. Alter it, Marcus, when the future shifts." He's talking about stopping the first invasion. Ethan's heart raced. "You can help us stabilize the gate." Zaron's eyes glowed with quiet pain. "Yes. I will not watch another world burn as mine has. I will fight with you." Sarah's voice sharpened. "Why betray your own kind?" "Because my people have become parasites. I will not be one of them." Ethan extended his hand. After a pause, Zaron clasped it. That night they studied alien symbols. Zaron carved into the dirt coordinates and energy flows. Marcus barely understood. Sarah kept her pistol ready but stayed silent. "If this works," Marcus whispered, "we can return to the exact moment of invasion." Ethan looked at them all. "Then we have a chance." Sarah shook her head. "Or we get slaughtered in seconds." "Maybe," Ethan said, "but I'd rather die fighting for a future than watch humanity vanish." Zaron's deep voice cut the silence. "Then it is decided. We face time itself." Above them, alien ships roared across the sky, but in the shadows below, a fragile alliance was born, one that might rewrite destiny. The time gate hummed in the ruins like a wounded heart. With Zaron's guidance, the machine glowed brighter and steadier than ever before. Its unstable flickers smoothed into a circle of radiant blue. For the first time since the invasion, Ethan Carter felt like they were standing at the edge of possibility instead of collapse. Marcus Reynolds tightened the final connections, sweat dripping down his face. Gates aligned. Target date, July 12th, 2014-5, the night their ships first appeared. Sarah Mitchell checked her weapon, though she knew bullets would do little in the coming battle. "So we just step through, land in the middle of the invasion, and stood tall beside them, his patterned armor catching the glow. not magically, strategically. My people's first arrival was vulnerable. Shields were unstable during atmospheric entry. Strike then, and the invasion crumbles before it begins. Ethan frowned. But humanity wasn't ready in 2014. 5. No army, no plan, just confusion. How can a handful of us change that? Zaron's glowing eyes locked on his. Because you will not be alone. I will fight against my own. My knowledge of their ships, their weapons. It will be your edge. Silence fell. The weight of what they were about to attempt pressed heavy. One chance to rewrite centuries of despair. Sarah broke it with a bitter laugh. You realize if this fails, we die instantly. No second chances. Ethan squared his shoulders. Then we make it count. The gate roared open, a vortex of light spinning into infinity. One by one, they stepped through. Marcus first, then the other scientists, then Sarah. Ethan and Zaron entered last, side by side. The world on the other side was shockingly familiar. A summer night in Washington, D.C. Stars gleaming above the city, alive with lights. Ordinary people walked the streets, oblivious to what was about to descend. Ethan's chest tightened. We're here before it all began. But then the sky split open. A tear of burning energy ripped across the heavens, and alien ships emerged, vast obsidian constructs descending like blades from another world. Panic rippled through the city as sirens wailed. People pointed upward, screams rising as shadows fell across monuments and skyscrapers. Sarah's voice was sharp. They're coming down, Zaron. Where do we hit them? Zaron's eyes flared. Their core reactors exposed during entry. Strike there,
Marcus's
and the fleet
hands
shook as he armed the experimental launcher they'd carried through the gate, a crude device infused with stolen alien tech Zaron had given them. One shot, that's all this thing gets. The first ship pierced the clouds, its shield flickering, unstable, just as Zaron had said. Plasma fire lit the night as military jets scrambled hopelessly into the sky. The invasion had begun. Now, Zaron roared. Ethan braced Marcus as he fired. The weapon screamed energy, tearing upward in a streak of white light. It struck the ship's exposed core. For a breathless second, nothing happened. Then, the sky erupted. The flagship detonated, flames carving across the heavens. Shockwaves rattled windows for miles. Two smaller ships collided in the chaos, crashing into the Potomac in explosions of fire and water. The impossible had happened. An alien vessel destroyed at the very moment of their arrival. Crowds below screamed, but this time in astonishment as much as fear. The military regrouped, emboldened by the sudden crack in the enemy's armor. Anti-air batteries roared, targeting the vulnerable ships. Sarah grinned fiercely. We just changed history. But the triumph was brief. More ships emerged from the rift, their weapons blazing. Alien soldiers began dropping into the streets, cutting through tanks and soldiers with merciless precision. The battle for Earth had ignited early and violently. In the chaos, Zaron fought beside them. His plasma blade cut through his own kind, his movements swift and brutal. Sarah stared in disbelief as the alien fought like a shield for humanity, deflecting attacks that would have ended them all. Ethan shouted over the roar. Marcus, can the weapon fire again? Marcus shook his head. It's burned out. That was it. Zaron met Ethan's gaze. Then I will hold them. You must rally your people. Tell them the truth. The enemy can bleed. Before Ethan could stop him, Zaron surged forward, carving a path through the invading soldiers. Plasma blasts tore into him, but he kept fighting, his blade a blur of light. He reached the lead commander, drove his weapon through its chest, and let out a roar that echoed across the city. Then the enemy overwhelmed him. Ethan's scream was lost on the fell, but not in vain. The invasion had been broken. Humanity had seen the impossible. The alien fleet could be defeated, and that single truth would change everything. Smoke hung heavy over Washington, D.C., the night sky lit by burning ships. Sirens wailed, soldiers shouted, and civilians fled through the chaos. The first wave of the invasion had been broken, but at a terrible cost. Ethan Carter knelt where Zaron had fallen. The alien warrior's lifeless body sprawled among the wreckage. Plasma burns scorched his armor, but his eyes, once blazing with defiance, were dim now. Ethan's throat tightened. "You saved us," he whispered. "You gave us a chance." Sarah Mitchell placed a hand on his shoulder, her face streaked with grime and blood. "We can't stay here, Ethan. He didn't die so we could stand still." She was right. Above them, alien ships still poured through the rift, though their formation was shattered. Humanity had struck a wound, but the war was far from over. Ethan rose, gripping Zaron's fallen blade. Its glow hummed in his hands, strangely alive. "Then we keep fighting. We show them. Zaron was right. That we're worth saving." In the days that followed, history bent. The U.S. military, stunned by the destruction of the alien flagship, rallied fast. News spread across the globe. The invaders can be killed. Governments, once paralyzed by fear, armed themselves, forging alliances overnight. Humanity's resistance began years earlier than it had in the timeline. Ethan and his companions had fled. Ethan and Sarah became unwilling leaders, guiding commanders with knowledge of the future. Marcus Reynolds worked day and night to replicate the alien tech Zaron had shared. Within weeks, prototypes of energy-based weapons rolled off hidden assembly lines. For the first time, humanity fought not as prey, but as rivals. But the war raged bitterly. Cities burned. Millions died. Every victory was paid for in blood. Yet humanity endured. And in every battle, Ethan felt Zaron's presence beside him, the alien who had chosen hope over conquest. Years passed. The rift above Earth finally collapsed under the strain of constant warfare, cutting the alien fleet from reinforcements. What remained of their armada fell one by one. The last ship burned over the Atlantic, crashing into the ocean in a column of fire. When silence finally came, Earth was unrecognizable. Entire nations lay in ruins, the environment scarred beyond repair. Survivors huddled in fractured cities, clinging to scraps of food and water. Humanity had won the war, but at a cost that left stood atop the ruins of the capital, watching smoke drift across a wounded horizon. Sarah joined him, her face older, harder, but still. "We won," she said, though her voice carried no joy. Ethan shook his head. "No, we survived. That's different." Marcus arrived, holding a weathered data pad. "I've run the numbers again. Earth won't heal. Not in our lifetime. Resources are collapsing. If we stay, humanity dies slowly." Sarah frowned. "Then what's the alternative?" Marcus glanced skyward. "We do what Zaron wanted us to do. We leave. We find another home." The words lingered heavy in the air. Humanity had fought to defend Earth, but now Earth could no longer defend them. To survive, they had to look beyond the stars. The Exodus project began in secret, gathering what remained of the world's best engineers and scientists. They rebuilt Zaron's stolen designs, shaping them into something new. Vessels capable of traveling beyond the solar system. It took decades, but desperation fueled progress. At last the day came. Great ships rose from Earth's scorched soil, carrying what was left of humanity toward the unknown. Families pressed against viewports. Children gazed at the stars with wonder instead of fear. Ethan stood on the command deck of the lead ship, Zaron's blade hanging at his side like a relic. Sarah stood beside him, watching Earth shrink behind them. Think, well, make it, she asked quietly. Ethan's gaze hardened. We don't have a choice. For weeks they sailed through the void. Systems failed. Supplies ran thin. But hope carried them forward. Then one day the
glowed
scanner
ahead.
lit up, its light bathing them in. Orbiting it was a planet. Blue seas green, continents, a shimmering atmosphere. Marcus's voice broke with awe. Habitable, readings are perfect. Sarah exhaled in disbelief. A new Earth. Ethan's chest ached as he stared at the world hanging before them. A tear slipped free. No better than Earth. This is Nova Terra. The fleet descended, engines blazing. As the first ship touched down on the alien soil, survivors stepped out beneath an unfamiliar sun. Children laughed, soldiers wept, and farmers pressed trembling hands into fertile ground. Humanity had been broken, nearly erased, but they had endured. Ethan planted Zaron's blade in the soil, its glow flickering faintly, as though the alien still stood beside him. This is for you, he whispered. You gave us a future. And under the light of a new star, humanity began again.